Tokyo in the 1970s, the city is bursting with electronics, neon lights, and hopes for a new era. But somewhere in a small room, amid the silence of an old neighborhood, a boy named Takashi Murakami sits for hours over a sheet of paper. Have you ever seen a child not just drawing, but disappearing into the lines of paint, as if entering a parallel reality? That was him. Little Takashi did not dream of fame or the art market. His world was Nihonga, traditional Japanese painting. So in 1986 he enrolled at Tokyo University of the Arts to study Nihonga, a venerable, rigorous art form passed down through generations. Until 1993 he immersed himself in academicism and became a doctor of art. But I thought it was mine. But when I turned on the TV and saw anime, I realized, this is it, the real life of my country, Murakami later recalled. He was not satisfied with the past, frozen in scrolls. He wanted to tell the story of Japan as it was now, with manga, crazy images, the sexual anxiety of the otaku generation, and pop culture schizophrenia. In the silence, among the scrolls, he already felt that an explosion was inevitable. He didn't draw lines, he drew the inner tension of the nation after Hiroshima, colorful, shiny, toy-like, but filled with fear. It is at this moment that the future Superflat aesthetic is born, still without a name but already in his head. Friends, please support us with likes and subscriptions for regular content, and thank you for watching us. It would combine anime, pop culture, naivety, and shocking truth. It was like a scene from a movie. He is sitting on the Tokyo Gaidai campus. Next to him is a scroll with flowers, behind him are screens with manga. And between them is a gap. That's where he will jump into this gap and bring the whole world with him. The silence was suddenly saturated with bright color and burst, as if an explosion inside the head. That's how Murakami burst into the world of contemporary art. Not as a guest. As a revolution. After years at Tokyo University of the Arts, Takashi Murakami, armed with knowledge of traditional painting, explodes in a bright protest against academicism. He is not interested in the archaic format of galleries. He wants to speak to the masses. But not cheaply, massively, deeply, and brightly. And so, at the end of the 1990s he appeared. Mr. Doobie, a character with a round head, a Mickey Mouse smile, and teeth of anxiety. He is the artist's alter ego, a manifesto and a grotesque image of Japan in one. In 1999 he held an exhibition called Superflat in New York, and with that he introduced the world to a term that would become his artistic credo. Superflat is not just flat surfaces. It is a flat reality where there are no boundaries between commerce and art, between the past and pop culture. Murakami does not erase boundaries. He says there are no boundaries anymore. It's an illusion. The world has long since turned into glossy packaging in which everyone wants to see depth. In the 2000s his works began to sell for millions of dollars. Already in 2003 he collaborated with Marc Jacobs for Louis Vuitton. They created a collection of bags that became art objects. Sophisticated fashionistas around the world suddenly carried Mr. Doobie's smiles and flowers with eyes. Fashion ceased to be clothing, it became an art manifesto. 2007. Museum of Contemporary Art, Los Angeles. A huge retrospective of Murakami's work. Over 90 works, sculptures, paintings, animations. It later travels to the Brooklyn Museum, New York, Guggenheim, Bilbao, Frankfurt. And all this is not just an exhibition, but an explosion of Japanese culture in world art. And finally, 2008. At a Sotheby's auction, the sculpture My Lonesome Cowboy, a naked anime character made of glossy material, sells for $15.2 million. Who said that erotica, manga, psychedelia, and laughter can't be serious art? Murakami has the last laugh and counts millions. Thus, a hybrid of artist and brand, philosopher and animator, Warhol and Pikachu appeared in the art world. And this hybrid will not stop now. You know, there are artists who just paint, and there are those who build entire worlds. Takashi Murakami is one of the few who has not only left his mark, but also created an infrastructure for future generations of artists. In 2001 he founded Kaikai Kiki Co. Ltd., a company that would become the heart and engine of his empire. But it's not just a studio. It's a production of ideas, exhibitions, talent, and merchandise. Dozens of people work here, from artists to managers, technical masters, sculptors, and marketers. Murakami once said, "I work as a producer. Like a label. I want to give young artists not only inspiration but also tools." Indeed, Kaikai Kiki supports artists such as Mr. Aya Takano, Chiho Aoshima, and Rei Sato, all of whom became stars thanks to Murakami's support. Gaisai Art Fair is another breakthrough. From 2002 to 2014, he has been organizing a unique art fair every year, where young artists create their own stands, without the mediation of galleries, and communicate directly with viewers. This is not just an exhibition, it is an open art market of democracy. Incidentally, the name Kaikai Kiki comes from the 17th century, a term used to describe art that is at once refined, bold, and strange. This is exactly what comes out of his studio. In 2010, he opened his second gallery, Hidari Zingaro, in Tokyo. He also has offices in New York, Los Angeles, and even Berlin and Taiwan. Murakami is not just a global artist. He is a platform. He transformed himself from an artist into a system, and he left a smiling mark on world art history. And now, let's look deeper, because there is always a shadow behind the colors, behind the smiles of flowers, pain, behind the doll's eyes, the history of an entire nation. Takashi Murakami is not just an artist of color. He is a chronicler of post-war Japan, not with words but with paints, plastic figures, and visual absurdity. After its defeat in the war, Japan lost its identity. Western influence, prohibitions, rebirth. And on this soil otaku culture grew, an escape into manga, sexual fantasies, childishness, techno-aesthetics. Murakami does not condemn this. He shows, accepts, laughs, and at the same time cries. Looking at his works, the question arises, is this provocation? Yes. But it is also a painful confession that only an artist who grew up in this reality can make. Have you ever seen art laugh in your face and then gently touch your heart? Murakami does this with every work. In his Superflat aesthetic, he flattens the world. There is no more high art. There is no more depth. Everything is glossy, bright, consumerist. But in this flattening, a mirror of the era. And this mirror is terribly true. His painting Tan Tan Bo Puking Agijero Tan is a psychedelic creature with twisted eyes, vomiting colors. But this is not just horror, this is Japan turning itself inside out. I use cute characters to hide fear, just as Japan uses cosplay to hide trauma, says Takashi Murakami, who has gone from a quiet room in Tokyo to exhibitions in Versailles. From Nihonga scrolls to Louis Vuitton. From the smile of a flower to the scream of Jero Tan. Takashi Murakami not only painted Japan from the inside, he showed the world that even in the strangest, most anime-like, most commercial world, something deeper can live, something that carries the national philosophy. If you like this story, stay with us. There are more stories to come about those who are changing perceptions of art, society, and themselves. Thank you for watching and see you next time.